Welcome to The Business Strategist, the show for CEOs and founders ready to scale fast, lead smarter, and build a business that doesn't rely on them. I'm Adam Strong, award-winning strategist, former elite athlete, international speaker, and 3 times best-selling author. After 3 decades in business, I know exactly what it takes to grow, scale, and exit with impact. Each week, I dive into real conversations with industry experts, bold entrepreneurs, and clients navigating the uphill struggles of business, giving you the tools and the strategies to create more profit, more freedom, and more impact. Let's get into it.
Hey guys, and welcome to the podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a topic called how to get over stagnation. So if your company has been stagnating and plateauing for many, many years, I'm going to show you a way in which you can overcome and develop a competitive edge. That means core differentiation, how to beat your competitors, and stagnation. I go through psychology, some methodologies, some strategies and tactics. This is a great podcast. I was hosted by Dan Warburns on the Law Firm Owners Podcast. And the beauty about it is that you don't have to be a law firm owner in order to apply the tactics that I'm sharing with you on this podcast. So enjoy today's episode. I'm sure you will. Make sure you got your notebook and pen handy. It's the masterclass like no other. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Law Firm Owners Podcast. I'm here with a man that seriously knows his stuff. This man is Adam Strong. He helps M&A teams build a strategic exit advisory function that can add to their usual suite of legal services. It's a framework that transforms a law firm from a late-stage legal service provider into an early-stage strategic partner. Adam also hosts the Business Strategist podcast that receives over 4,000 downloads a month. And he's also a best-selling author of Play the Game and 2 other books, and is basically known for increasing law firm revenue and market share. Today, what we're covering is why most law firms stagnate and how to break through with a competitive edge. Adam, it's brilliant to have you here.
Thanks very much, Dan. Really appreciate it, and thank you for the kind introductions.
Well, only saying it as it is. Now, I've known of your achievements and the rise of your podcast, and the impact that you're having, especially more and more so now in the legal space. So it's brilliant to have you here because I know that a lot of things we're going to be covering is going to be of interest to the listeners. Okay. So let's get straight to it, and I'd love to hear what you would say to this. Why do most law firms stagnate, just don't grow?
It's a really interesting question because every legal firm is different. Like the way the culture is different, leadership is different, just the whole kind of dynamic in terms of its DNA is different. And I think that based on some of the legal firms that I've worked with in the past, there seems to be a common pattern, Dan, and you've probably seen that through your coaching practice. And I think one of the things that I have come across in the legal industry is that, in fairness, it's very traditional in the way they approach business, because let's just face it, law school never taught them business and marketing, did they? And so it's really interesting because there's a lot of false beliefs that a lot of legal firms believe to be true to them. But in actual fact, as we move out of the Industrial Revolution and into the digital revolution, the ways that we used to do business from like 20, 25 years ago, even 5 years ago, has drastically shifted buyers' psychology, the way that people are viewed. And so there's many different kind of reasons as to the reasons why a lot of legal firms stagnate and become complacent, and I suppose are kind of within that, should we say, comfort zone of not trying new things. And it doesn't even have to be legal. We've seen many companies that have been over the years that have failed to innovate, and then they just stay still.
Yeah.
So what we do know is that when companies stay still and they're not growing, really in effect, they're dying because they're running out of ideas. They've tried new things, but also, like I said, the old methods don't work. When I have a lot of conversations down with a lot of legal firms, is that they're very transactional minded.
Yeah.
So
Meaning they think of, I'll do a billable hour and you pay me for that hour that I'm billing you for.
correct.
And more to the point, it's the owners and partners that lose themselves in lots of that billable work and are just not around to support the rest of their team members, do business development, look at innovation, improving anything. So everything just stays the same.
Exactly. Well, that's one thing, which is all around the whole kind of billable hours and about how we work as a team. But there are some other factors as well, because again, like I said to you, law school didn't teach business and marketing. We are now in 2025 or whenever you're listening to this, where the importance of personal branding is ever so more important. We look at huge credibility. And so some of the false belief systems around what legal firms think is they believe that they're just good enough because they've won an award from 1999, or they've got these wonderful solicitors or lawyers that have got 25 years of experience and have got master's degrees coming out of their arse. But in reality, like, let's just kind of think of it from the perception or reality of the prospect of the potential client that's engaging with a legal firm. Now, ultimately, if I'm in the service of, say, I wanted to engage in a legal firm that's going to help me with my M&A work, right? So it's going to help me to sell my business, right? I could go onto Google or ChatGPT and I could search the legal firms that deal with M&A, right? The reality is, it's not enough to be sitting on the top of Google. It's not enough to have X amount of years of experience. It's not enough to say how hardworking you are, or how professional you are, or how well respected you are. They are false belief systems. Yeah. It is a belief system so ingrained in the industry that when I come in, I ruffle a few feathers and I piss a few people off because, hey, that's just not how buyers think anymore.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, for me, Dan, I've been studying sales and psychology for quite a significant amount of years. And because the legal industry is so stuck in its ways, and some legal firms feel like they're very restricted because of what the SRA may say or what other people may say, is again a false belief system. It's a false belief system so ingrained that they then trickle it down and their team then believes in it. And then they're like, well, we can't do much. Like, we're only going to be able to go out to potential partners like accountants or whatever it is. Maybe they'll pass us on some work, or they'll sit on their computer desk in pre-anticipation that the magic email will come through saying, hey, can I take on your legal service? Can you help me? That's not going to happen. It is a false belief system.
And on top of that, you have these belief systems, but then you have the way law firm lawyers operate is they're avoiding risk on behalf of their client. So then that part of their brain that handles risk becomes like the strongest over-dominant thought muscle in their brain. So then they look at everything through risk. So then they're very risk averse.
Absolutely.
So then you end up with huge risk aversion and then having to do things as they've always believed. And then if you change it, well, it's all just not going to work. Better stay in the lane of absolute safety or it's going to fall apart.
Yeah, and you're absolutely bang on. I mean, I've had many conversations with legal firms. I was speaking with a guy the other day and he was like, well, but that's the way it's done around here. And it's like, well, could it be better though? Or could it be improved? Or how's that working for you? Because again, it's kind of getting out of that comfort zone and being open to the opportunity or the possibility of exploring new ways to do business, to have business. And again, it's a comfort zone.
And for the listener listening to this, if you're a law firm owner or partner and you can't go away on holiday for 1 week without your laptop, without the business starting to fall apart, then you are in that old belief system. You don't get what's really available to you as the new way of doing business in this day and age.
But we know and again, kind of like from my studies and my data and just through conversations, is that generally it is a fear around the letting go part. Like, if you've built your business for 20, 25 years plus or whatever it is, if you're a founder listening to this, right, and you find it very difficult to let go, I hear you. I understand you. I have been there myself.
Mm.
So I come from a place of empathy, Dan, because again, I can totally empathize where they're coming from. But but from personal experience, where that stemmed from is the fear of losing control. I remember working with a legal services firm about 18 months ago. And the owner itself, she was such a lovely person, like really nice, down to earth person. But when we started to brainstorm some different ideas about how to grow the firm because it wasn't growing as the way that she wanted to grow it, she had these aspirations of wanting to exit herself and things like that. It became really uncomfortable. The conversation. She said she was open to trying new things, but it was also due to a lack of confidence. So confidence plays a very important role of that. And again, if you're so set in your own ways, if you set in a belief system,
And you're highly risk averse.
and you're really highly risk averse, like it's very difficult to get out of the mold.
Yeah, because then you try naturally doing everything yourself.
Yes.
And you think only I can do this. Nobody else can do this as well as I can, which is
Absolutely.
why, as somebody else had on the podcast said to me, that management skill is at its absolute lowest in the legal profession than in any other profession.
I believe it.
Or was it you that
absolutely
maybe told me that? I don't know.
Do you know what? I can't remember. Probably I did. But you're absolutely right. I mean, listen, if we're all sitting around on our desks just thinking about how much money I can make per hour, like you're so out of tune of the way the world is right now,
Yeah.
Clients want value. And I know that value is subjective, but people don't care how much things cost per hour. They want to know if you're going to give them the result and the transformation.
I agree and disagree with that, because I know of other law firms that tried to move to a fixed model value-based pricing, but their clients said, no, we'd much rather have it on an hourly fee than we know how long it's actually taken man time to do that work.
Well, then again, I'd probably push back on that and probably say, well, are those the types of clients that you want to attract and do business with?
And also, as we move into AI and you start to have AI do something that would have normally taken 8 hours into 2 hours, what are you going to do then?
Absolutely. No, 100%. But also, you have to also think to yourself as well, like there are a lot of law firms out there that are what I call scurrying around, looking for deals, looking for business, because they believe that this is the way that we do business, right? But there are in every industry, Dan, and we've spoken about this, every industry, there are a few law firms out there that sit at the top of the tree.
Yeah.
They look down on everyone else, not in a bad way, but they say to them, hey, you down there, when are you going to come and join us at the top? They're doing something completely different to the way that CEOs think of all the companies that are managed at the bottom. They try new things. If you look for common patterns, if you look for success trails, if you look for things that they're doing differently, they do completely the opposite to all the legal firms, all the law firms that are not doing it the way that you think that they should be doing it.
Yeah, got it. So we've just been breaking down why law firms stagnate. And of course, the outcome of that is they stagnate. They don't grow. They go sideways. I mean, even down and fall apart. Staff members also get fed up. They don't get the career progression they want because they're not getting any attention from the owners. And so it goes on. So tell us more about the competitive advantage that could lift a law firm up out of that. And you're starting to allude to that now as what you're speaking about. You've noticed in the law firms that are more successful, that are high growth as such, I guess.
You're ready to exit, so why haven't you? You may be in business for 15, 20, 25 years of building your business, but the passion is gone. You're done. But one question keeps you stuck. Is the number close enough to walk away without any regret? What can you actually spend? What kind of life does it fund? And will you look back in 5 years wishing you'd stayed in your business? Now, our sponsor, Zenton, works exclusively with founders at this exact moment. They're chartered financial planners who show you exactly what exit really means. Your spending power, your options, even income that you can generate outside the business. They give you the clarity to pull the trigger with confidence or a plan to bridge the gap. Visit zentum.co.uk and find out if it's finally time. That's zentum.co.uk and find out if it's finally time.
So in terms of being able to develop a competitive edge, we have to start to ask questions within our leadership teams and just in teams in general. And some of the questions that often come up, or I challenge a lot of the clients that I tend to work with in the law space, is why should anyone really do business with you? Like, really, what gives you such a unique selling proposition that makes you so uniquely different from everybody else? And, there's a real difference between a USP and standards. And I talked about this on a separate podcast, actually. But a standard is effectively we're hardworking, we're respected, we're professional, we're on time, we're punctual, all of that nonsense. They're all standards. If you're paying for a service, I expect those things regardless. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
To be on time, do what you say you'll do.
No, they're called standards. Like,
Yeah.
if I didn't get that as a standard, then I'd be really pissed off, right? It's as simple as that. But in terms of a competitive edge, is thinking of it from the buyer's perspective, their psychology. When I say, for example, I'm in the market of, I don't know, a family lawyer, right? And I do my research and do family lawyer. And then there's probably, 10,000 family lawyers in London, central London alone, for example, if that's my geographical location. Now, everyone is going to tell me about how hardworking and how good they are, right? Because they're all about themselves. That's what happens when you come across a law firm's website.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a big ego on there. It's not really speaking to the client. It's not speaking to the reader. So the question I have to ask myself is, okay, well, if you've got all these family lawyers that are all telling me how good they are and telling me that they can fix my problem, whether it be divorce or whatever it is that I have the problem with, what then differentiates from one firm to another? Because if everyone's all got similar experience and everyone's got similar, then how does that make them any different from anybody else? It really doesn't. And so then we have to look at the psychology of the buyer. What ticks people off? Like, what really pisses people off? That's one thing that you need to ask. Like, what is the buyer really looking for in a legal firm to take business from them? Like, what is it that they're looking for? Do they need to come across as warm? Like, what sort of values do they have? So it's looking at what makes us, and again, it's kind of a combination of using neuroscience as well as psychology.
Yeah, yeah.
What makes us so completely unique and different? Is it the fact that they are in the legal 500 list? Is it the fact that they've got X amount of awards? Is it the fact that they've got X amount of testimonials and social proof on their website? Are other people raving about how good they are? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because legal firms are very good at raving about how good they are. What they're not so good at is showcasing other people and getting them to sell their business. Because we all know, Dan, is that when someone else promotes your business, it's 10 times more powerful than you promote yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Which is why I've focused on not saying how good I am on my website, but having lots of testimonials and client interviews of them saying the results they got through working with me.
Absolutely. And so this is where this whole kind of competitive edge comes in, is having core questions within your leadership team and thinking, how are we so uniquely different? And one of the exercises I do with one of my clients is I get them to write out 3 or 4 competitors that are closely linked to what they currently do. And I write down all of the things that they do well and all the things they don't do well. And then I get them to put how they go against some of the top boys. And then I kind of say to, okay, where are the gaps? Where are the improvement? Where are the markers that we could give over everybody else? So you might have like one legal firm that maybe focus is on a cheap service, right? So that might be their USP. They want to be the cheapest than everybody else. There might be another legal service where they're the most they're the most expensive. But what makes them so uniquely expensive? So again, it's kind of like where do I want to be within the market? Where does my firm want to be?
How do I want my firm to be perceived by my ideal prospect? Yeah.
Exactly.
And one of the other things that's come into my mind is the other USP is also going niche as well. So you might be a family lawyer, but perhaps do you specialize on guiding couples through divorces that have aggressive partners? You know, an aggressive spouse, the aggressive spouse divorce specialist, or, you know.
And I think it's really interesting. I was actually on a call with a law firm yesterday, and they're like, yeah, you know, we want to be known for being the full service operator. And I'm like, well, okay, what does that look like exactly? And they're like, well, we do family law, we do property law, we do M&A law, I'm like, okay, so where does most of your revenue come from? They're like, well, almost 50% comes from property. Okay, well, what about your M&A and corporate stuff? Oh, it's less than 5%. I thought to myself, well, if you're getting more than 50% of your revenue directly from property law, why don't you just double down on that? That to me would make more sense rather than kind of like employing more lawyers of an angle or a vertical that simply doesn't work.
It's like thinking that you'll have a garage that says we service Ford, Lancia, Fiat, Renault, Audi,
100%.
and expecting somebody with their Ferrari to come around to have their Ferrari service. No, you need to focus. We are the Ferrari specialists in this area. It's all we do, know, sleep, and live.
Absolutely.
And so especially when it comes to marketing, I see this mistake a lot. You know, people, law firm owners, partners trying to work out, how am I going to market all these services? Well, that's the point. You can't. You want to pick the number one that puts you in front of everybody else. And then when they become a client, then you can let them know about the other services. Is that what you found?
Absolutely, 100%. And, you know, you can be seen as a generalist or you can be seen as a specialist.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, pick your lane in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I wanted to mention as well, really, really briefly as well, around the competitive edge is having a really good understanding of the client's challenges and problems and fears and pain points. Now, if you can understand that, then the client and the buyer is going to feel like you really understand them. You know, because the law industry is all about relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about how well do you really know your prospect and buyer? Like, really,
brilliant. Like it's making me just go deeper on this whole family law thing. You know, it's like you could be a specialist that helps wives being divorced by a partner who's wants to take their house.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's the specialist going for women that are worried that the partner's going to take the house, and you could become a specialist of solving just that. And then you could have a whole series of keywords and blog pieces and posts and everything you could put out about that scenario. And you would become the one law firm for wealthy women to go to who are going through a divorce where they have a husband who's trying to go for their house, the biggest prize between them.
Absolutely. Now, here's the reality, though. I know that a lot of people that's listening in right now, what I will say is that they will probably have questions like, oh, but I don't want to alienate the people that I currently have or have conversations with. Like, I get that all the time, right? But then again, it's kind of going back to finding a lane, sticking to a lane. If it works, then, you know, double down and become that person. The reality is that we don't need to have the whole piece of the cake.
Yeah.
If analogy, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like beige doesn't work when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
It doesn't move anyone. It doesn't either pull anyone towards you, but it doesn't push anyone else away. Effective marketing has a repelling effect because only when it's repelling does it have an attractive effect on some. And as you say, look back to what's working already. If your firm is 50% conveyancing, then lock down on that. You've already got traction. You've already got a name. You've got already on the chance of becoming the real specialist in doing that. And then maybe you could niche a bit further into a certain kind of property, size, price, bracket that you're the specialist in, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's many different ways to scale a law firm. The way that we're talking about right now, which is really doubling down on a specific niche and rinse and repeat, because it's obviously a system that's working for you right now. And, and then you can potentially expand, acquire other legal firms within that vertical. The other side is, yes, you could expand into other closely related services, whether it be conveyancing or whatever it might be. But again, you want to make sure that you do your data and research first to see if there's a potential market. I mean, specifically, I'm not talking about like just having a few conversations with a few people. I'm talking about having a detailed research out there to say that there is a potential market. I do believe that you shouldn't have all your eggs in one basket. I will say that 100%. But again, it's like you've heard the analogy. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 ways to pretty much scale a business as well. And niching down is one. And then going wide or narrow is entirely up to you.
Yeah.
If you go wide, there's risk. If you go narrow, there's risks.
Yeah, it's true. The other way, of course, is if you have another sector of your business that you really do want to grow, then you could consider spinning that off as a new law firm altogether, give it a different name. And then have both your business then owned by another company above that, and you just move everybody's share ownership to the one above that. Then that way you can basically compartmentalize the revenue and the marketing per law firm, per sector. Another way of doing it. And
interestingly enough, about 5 years ago, we worked with a legal firm, and they were award-winning family lawyers in Northamptonshire or somewhere like that. I don't know. Cut long story short, though, the founder itself, she'd been in the family industry for 25 years plus, but her passion wasn't in family law. It was all in motorsport.
Right.
She'd been racing fast cars since the age of 12. And so she felt like the real reason why she actually built a law firm in the first place is to actually have more time with her husband and to be able to do the passions in life that she wanted to do. And so what she decided to do as an experiment is she brought in pretty much a COO, chief of operations, to focus on keeping that family law stuff ticking over and expanding that part, while she then experimented in a new vertical of motorsport law, which is very specialized. And she's now managed to grow a significant vertical within her legal law service. And, she spends the majority of her weekends racing fast cars, having conversations with Formula 4 drivers, Formula 3 drivers, and helping them with their contracts. So, it's just really interesting how you can kind of move into a vertical. But again, she used herself as the guinea pig. She wanted to see if it was a vertical that was worth really kind of doubling down on. Yes, it was her passion, but was there any money in it? Like, was there any kind of substance? And so that's the reason why she decided to take herself out of the business, create more of a self-managing company, while she then focused on the motorsport vertical, had some testing done to it. Obviously it works now, and now she's looking to expand.
So when we look talking about this competitive edge, what would you say is the competitive edge that she gained?
I think the competitive edge is really kind of, she understood that there wasn't a particular legal law firm out there that was supporting drivers.
Okay.
Racing drivers. There wasn't anyone out there. So she looked at the whole industry and she was like, so if we think about motorsport law or sports law or whatever, like, what's the first few firms that come to mind? And she just couldn't think of any. And her clients couldn't think of any. And the prospects, like, she was having conversations with drivers that were struggling with contracts. And I'm like, so tell me, like, who's helping you out with this problem? And they're like, well, we don't know who to turn to. So she was already gathering from the research and the conversations that she was having with people down the racetrack that no one was helping these people. There was a gap in the market. She identified a gap in the market. That's where the real competitive edge really came in.
Yeah, nice. How do you think somebody that's in a more common kind of law, like family law, conveyancing, commercial law, what can they do to find a competitive advantage? I know we've covered some of that such as what are your existing clients saying about you and how can you demonstrate that? We've talked about niching, how they can niche down and become a bit more specialized within that niche. So they're known by a certain person going through a kind of divorce and there's similar kind of challenges, or conveyancing is this kind of property value in this area, that the specialists of that. What else do you think a law firm could do to get that competitive advantage?
One of the most greatest ways that you can really kind of get an understanding of this is by really going to some of your existing clients and asking them some very specific questions, such as, Dan, like, why did you choose us specifically? Like, before you engage with us, what was it about us that stood out from you compared to all the other conveyancing family legal firms or whatever it is?
Yeah,
And
no.
so ask the question, and they might have seen something that really enticed them to get a better understanding of why they chose you.
Yeah.
Once you can get an understanding of why they chose you, you can then kind of think to yourself, okay, well, is it that they were impressed of the awards? Was it the fact that the copy was so good, or the fact that they came across as a more personal, humanistic, firm that really understood my problems? So again, it's about having a conversations with clients that you're currently that have picked you. And the other thing I was going to say to you as well is having conversations with clients or customers that have used you for a long period of time. Why did they choose to come back over and over and over again? And it isn't because they're hardworking, right?
Yeah.
It's because for something specifically that they're doing really well.
Yeah.
What can you double down on that can really help to attract more of those types of clientele? Because generally what we found through psychology and sales is that when a customer comes back over time and time and time again, it doesn't matter of the cost.
Yeah.
They know what they're getting. They're getting the value that they perceive in their mind, why they buy it. It doesn't matter how much it costs, they'll pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so again, it's kind of like, what do we want to be known for? Do we want to be known as the cheapest industry, or do we want to be known for best value, but from the buyer's perception? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Of what the value is that they've received and why they see it as valuable.
Correct.
I think, yeah, absolutely brilliant. And what you can do then is, of course, don't just interview one client, see if you can do 10. And in fact, take out here's a great tip to take going forwards. Take your top 10 paying clients out to lunch or dinner and obviously treat them to it. And whilst you're on that dinner, just say to them, I'd love to take you out to lunch or dinner. And I've just got a couple of questions. I'd love to hear your feedback about my business at the same time. They'll be like, yeah, sure, fine. That just feels like it's a nice, light, easy conversation. Get a bottle of wine in, kick back, relax, and they'll soon open up and tell you everything. And you'll be all right there taking a few notes. And then at the end of it, they'll have strengthened the relationship with you, and you'll probably get even more work out of them at the end of it, right?
100%. I mean, here's the thing: you get so many law firms complaining about the fact that they're not growing or whatever it is. Hey, let's just be real for a second. Why don't you go to all your best customers and do what you just suggested, right?
Yeah.
And you'll guarantee that you'll probably walk out by the end of the week by 5 new deals or collaborations or whatever it is. And as human beings, is that we all love to provide opinions and feedback. We just love to do it, right?
Yeah, because we like to feel needed and wanted and
we
useful.
We want to feel needed, right? We want to feel like I'm contributing.
Yeah.
So if they feel included as part of your plans, okay, and again, this goes back to culture, right? If you include your shareholders, if you include your clients and customers, if you include your team, it creates this beautiful synergy that kind of like everyone is then aligned. Yeah. Everyone becomes excited. There's this then sudden shift, and then you'll start to see like things will really start moving.
You agree with that? It's like values and a mission statement. It's one thing where you just write it out with you and the other owners and then you tell everybody about it. But it's very different when you announce it as this is the first draft. And I'd like us all now as a group on this weekly call to refine it. It makes everybody feel included and part of it. Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant.
Absolutely.
the other thing I was going to say is once you've then interviewed those 10 clients, see if there's any patterns between what they're each saying is the thing that they came to you for, then make that your headline message on the homepage of your website.
Yep, absolutely. And then you can start to think about the different strategies about then how you can use sales and buyer psychology to really to increase the growth of your firm. And it could be something so obvious that it's hitting you in the face, right? But it might not be, because we can't read people's minds. Well, the last time I looked, I couldn't. But if you can get a better understanding of what they're thinking and their buying signals and understanding their makeover in terms of their personality and what they look for, then that gives you an edge, a huge competitive edge, because I know for a fact that 99% of all law firms are not doing this right now. Because again, we go back to traditions.
Yeah, just bill.
Exactly that, But again, we're all human at the end of the day. Okay. Yeah. And there are better ways to do business. Now, if you want to improve your relationships, if you want to improve the way that you communicate, and have just attracting a better tribe of people, do the things that I've kind of told you within this podcast, and I can guarantee you'll see a massive shift.
Brilliant. Adam, I've loved having you on the show today. I've really taken away loads of amazing insights, and I'm sure the listeners have as well. I hope we can meet in person at some time. I think something like that is overdue.
Absolutely. Appreciate that, man.
Brilliant. Thanks, Adam. Cheers.
Appreciate it.